Hello and welcome to AR coaching questions. So we've got three. It's going to be about a 15-minute video. We've got the benefits of training frequency, seeing results by only tracking calories and protein, and do you need to do something every single day? No. So we'll go in and you'll hear me discuss these three main topics. Benefits of increased training frequency. So, is training more better? For some people it may be, for others it may not. What it comes down to is what can we recover from? So, if we've got a whole piece of cake, we can divide that cake in four. That could be 4 days worth of training. You could divide that cake in six. That would therefore be 6 days worth of training, but smaller chunks of training. So when you think of frequency in that way, then for some people doing more is better because we can spread out volume. But for some people we just don't need that amount of volume. So if you take a beginner lifter, then you probably don't need that same level of volume as what an advanced lifter is going to need. So therefore you can probably see very good results on a 3-day plan. Maybe a 4-day if you're wanting some shorter training sessions. Whilst as you progress and you become more advanced, in order for you to accumulate enough volume within a training week, you are going to need to spread that volume out. So spreading that volume over 6 days is probably a lot more realistic than what it is trying to put that amount of volume over 3 or 4 days. Not saying it can't be done, because it can. It just means that the 3 or 4 days that an advanced lifter would be training would be very long sessions. There would be a lot of workload. There would be a lot of volume within that individual session to recover from. So that there may limit somebody's recovery abilities. But if we can spread that over the entire week, that's a shorter session, not quite as much volume, so we can potentially recover better, ready for the next training session. So when you see highly advanced people training on a more frequent basis, or elite athletes training 6-7 times per week, multiple times per day, it is just a way that they can spread that volume of training out in a way that they can manage their recovery, but also be getting enough stimulation from their training to cause adaptations. Equally, benefits of training will come down to the more you practice what you do, the better you're going to become at it. So if you are a power lifter, well, you've got to be very good at 3 movements, squat, bench, deadlift, then practicing those movements on a frequent basis is going to be more beneficial than only squatting once a week. I'm a big advocate, and I've ran a high frequency squat plan before myself. And also with clients, I see that having people squat 2 to 3 times per week will make their squat go up very well. And it's not just the fact that they're gaining strength, it's the fact that they're gaining the skill to be able to squat well under heavy loads. So the squat is something that really seems to benefit from a higher frequency training. But as if you want to get good at anything. If you want to be a good basketball player, you're not going to play basketball once a week. You're going to play a match on one day, you're going to train 2-3 days a week, you're going to practice some drills, same with any sport. So if you need to become very good at a certain lift for a certain reason, then probably increasing the training frequency of that lift to maybe 2 or 3 times per week would be beneficial. Yet again, keep in check volume. If you do the same thing all the time, you're not going to be able to recover, you're not going to be getting different training effects and training stimulus. So there's some very good reasons to train more frequently. But in a lot of cases, many people won't need to be training 5-6 days a week. Many people won't need to train double sessions. And then that means that frequency can be used as a tool, as a way to progress. So we can progress from a 4-day training over to 5, because if we increase the training frequency, we can increase the overall volume done within that week. So frequency is a tool we can use to increase volume and also bring it back down. So more is not always better, less is not always more. It is training enough to provide a stimulus, but allowing enough recovery between that stimulus that you see a positive training effect. Seeing results by only tracking calories and protein, hell yeah, you can see results by just tracking calories and protein. You don't need to always track all 3 macros, and it's going to very much depend on where you are in relationship to your goal and what your goal is. So for some people, just tracking calories is going to do the job, especially if you're somebody who is very generally looking for weight loss. Somebody who is heavily overweight, maybe you've got plenty of stones to lose until you get down to your ideal weight, and even then, obviously your ideal weight probably isn't going to be shredded, and it's probably not going to be like beach body. It's just going to be a weight that you're comfortable with. So even just tracking calories is going to be beneficial. So calories are king. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times in the future. Calories are king, and because of that, we can change our weight, we can increase weight or decrease weight depending on our goal by just controlling calories. The reason we also control protein is because that is going to help in terms of muscle recovery from training if you're undergoing any training, and also preserving muscle mass that you've got. So if you take a typical weight loss client, let's say somebody's looking to lose maybe 4-6 stone, they're not doing any sort of exercise, maybe just a 30-45 minute walk per day, that's just like their normal activity, they've probably got a dog. So protein then isn't as important to them. They're not doing anything to stimulate muscle growth. They're not doing anything which they're having to kind of majorly recover from. Although for that individual, if the gym was an option, I would probably advise some form of resistance training 2 to 3 times per week, because more muscle is an increased metabolism. And also, as they lose weight, they're going to have more shape and look better at the end result. So can you see results tracking calories and protein? Definitely. So why do we track fat and carbs? Because people who track fat and carbs are looking for a lot more specific result at the end of it. So when you're tracking fat and carbohydrate, it's probably because you are concerned on your performance and your energy. So with carbohydrates being most people's number one source of energy, unless you are a ketogenic person and you believe you're fat adapted and that works for you, then that's a whole different topic I don't even want to get into. But predominantly our body's primary source of energy is carbohydrates. So if you're somebody who is training and you want good performance, ensuring that you've got a good amount of carbohydrate in your body is going to be essential. And because we want that instant energy, we would want carbohydrate. If you're somebody into more of your endurance sports, and we then want some form of more sustained energy, so probably having some more fat within the body would be beneficial, especially if we're going beyond like the 2-hour mark. But yet again, that's looking at endurance and not really where I specialize within. So being able to manipulate carbohydrate and fats for some people to yield better performance is beneficial, but not essential. So if you want best performance in the gym, you want to make sure that there's enough carbohydrates going in pre and post. Pre for fuel, post to aid recovery and replenish glycogen stores. If you're training multiple times per day, glycogen replenishment after training is even more important. And obviously we can keep fat quite low. We don't need crazy amounts of dietary fat. We do need a certain amount just because it helps balance hormones, and also generally it tastes good. So giving that a bit of diet flexibility there as well. Obviously we want a certain level of fat, and then I know people will manipulate these two to give different effects and feels from training to rest days. Personally, I'm more of a fan on manipulating these because of diet adherence and food selection between rest days and training days. But can you see results by tracking calories and protein? Yes. Providing that they are in line with your goal, you are tracking accurately, and your calorie targets are what you require to achieve your goal. And just to add to that, if you're only tracking calories and protein, it gives you a greater diet flexibility because your food choices are not as restricted, because you won't be looking for certain quantities of carbohydrate and or fat in line with protein and calories. So it just gives you a lot more choice. That can really help diet adherence. And for a lot of people, diet adherence is what's going to see results. The ability to eat foods they enjoy while sticking to the diet, coming within the calories, is going to be more beneficial than worrying about the differences between fat and carbs and trying to balance all that out as well. So diet adherence is a lot more easier when we're only looking at calories and protein, because what the fat and the carbs do is they just build up the calories and the energy that the body uses. So unless you are trying to time it around training, it is not essential to be worried on your amounts of carbs to fat if you can satisfy your targets in terms of calories and protein. The need to do something every day to maintain results. Guess what? If we don't exercise, if we don't do something for one day, we don't reset. We probably don't even go backwards. For a lot of people, we probably actually go forwards through taking the full days of rest. But I will hear it a lot within gyms on people like, oh yeah, it's my rest day tomorrow, I'm just going to do half an hour cardio and an ab session. What? It's a rest day and you're doing half an hour cardio and an ab session? Well, to me, that's not rest. Rest is rest. Rest is not doing anything that is going to give any level of fatigue to the body. Because if you're putting fatigue on the body, if you're training your abs, if you're doing your 20 minutes HIIT, then your body's still recovering. And the whole point of a rest day is to prioritize recovery. I'm not saying sit on the couch like a couch potato and binge watch the current Netflix series. It is an option for some of the day, but I wouldn't advise doing it for the entire day, admittedly. I would advise that you go out, go for a walk with your partner, with the dog, with yourself. Go and get some sunlight, go and get some fresh air, listen to a podcast, listen to your favourite music, chill out, do something where you move and potentially get outside. I'm a big advocate of kind of just getting outside, getting some oxygen in the lungs, some nice fresh air and a bit of sunlight, because it just makes everybody feel better and there are benefits for it. So get out, do a little something, but don't look at it as exercise, don't look at it as training. God damn, if it's going to the shops, go shopping for half an hour, walking around town, calling your favourite coffee shop. Do something, so don't become a couch potato, because sitting down all day is probably going to wreak havoc upon the hips and lower back. But, a rest day should be a day to rest and allow your body to recover. Keep your training for your training days. Keep your training focused upon your training days. But there is no need to do something every day, because what we do is we remove the whole point of a rest day. A rest day is a day to prioritize recovery. So it's not a day to think, oh, we're not going to the gym, so we drop down calories, we try and get loads of steps, loads of other things that's not our typical training, but in essence is still a form of training, increased level of expenditure and increased level of fatigue. We want a rest day to maybe don't think of it like a rest day, think of it like a recovery day. Think of prioritizing recovery, so staying well fueled, hitting your nutrition, staying hydrated, moving about a little bit, but just naturally, not seeing it as exercise, not counting your steps, not looking at it as cardio. chances are you don't need to train your abs. I don't know why people focus so much on training their abs to a point that, well, if it's that good, why the hell do you have to do it every day? Because deep down, we probably don't need to train them like a lot of people do. You're probably getting enough training for the core, providing you've got some heavy compound lifts in there. They're not going to disappear. It's a muscle. If you don't train your legs for a week, they don't disappear, do they? And then I know there's plenty of people out there who go more than a week between training their legs because they train them too hard and don't allow recovery. So when it comes to a rest day, take your rest days. You don't have to do something every day. Your body and your physique is the reflection of what you do over weeks and over months, not over one single day. So rest well. Don't think you've got to do something every day, because every day is not maintainable. That's another thing. Whatever we do, we need to be doing it maintainable. If you've therefore got to do something every single day, even on your rest days, that makes your rest days not rest days, a little bit of something every single day, then we're never going to be able to maintain that, because there are going to be points in your life where you're not going to be able to do that every single day. So think about the maintainability as well as the recovery. Thank you for listening to AR's coaching questions. I hope you found the advice informative and helpful. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will get back to them, or I may include them in the next episode of AR's coaching questions. Give us a like, hit subscribe, and you will find some links down in the description if you would like to find some more information and follow on other platforms.